Hey, what's going on guys, my name is Proto and today we're going to be taking a look at a question I get asked quite often, which is how much should I spend on a gaming PC or can this PC do X? So today I'm going to debunk a lot of bull that I see on the internet and also tell you other stuff I just talked about a minute ago. So let's start with purpose. This is basically the question of, are you just going to be playing games or else going to be live streaming or editing with it? If the rig you're trying to build is going to be just for streaming or video editing, then you don't really need a GPU, but you should try and focus more on a good CPU. For example, you play on console but you want to start a YouTube channel or start streaming on Twitch. In this case, since you're not playing games, you can really save a lot of money by going with a better processor like an i5, i7 or FX 8350. Since these sort of tasks are more CPU intensive. And yeah, there's the question of CUDA and OpenCL, which you have on GPUs, but for the most part, CUDA isn't worth spending an extra £200 to £300. Now if this is what you want to do with your computer, a good starting point would be to get a good CPU, 8 gigs of RAM and then the rest. If you really want to, you can take some of my other builds like my $1,000 build, £800 build, or even some of my £500 builds and just get rid of the GPU. This can in turn save you a lot of money since you'll be running the monitors through your integrated graphics, but then again you can just add a graphics card later on. If you decide PC gaming's for you, that is. So for live streaming and editing only, these sort of tasks would benefit from more cores and stronger CPUs rather than a strong GPU. But if you're just planning on gaming, you can get away with a decent processor, but the graphics card is where you want to spend most of your money. So in gaming itself, you have a few categories. First, what games are you planning on playing? So if you're planning to play Minecraft, CSGO, League or Dota, then you really don't need to spend a lot of money. Even with games like COD, they aren't that difficult to run, except for some of the newer ones, but literally, you'd just be planning on playing these games at 1080p, you can get 60 FPS, you can build yourself like a £300 build, and that should get you set. Now if you're planning on playing Battlefield, Witcher 3 or other bigger AAA titles, then you might need to spend some more money. But there's this general consensus among many people that in order to get a good PC, you have to spend thousands of pounds. And that's really not the case. You can play most games at 1080p, and you get a solid 60 FPS with maxing the game out at the £500 price range, so yeah. So we've established that if you're gaming, focus more of the budget on the GPU, and if you're doing things like editing and live streaming, focus more on the CPU. But it's good to often get a balance between parts, because otherwise you can get bottlenecking. Now I won't cover that in too much detail, but it's basically where in games, your graphics card isn't being used to its full potential because it's limited by your CPU. Now you're probably looking at me going,
okay, I get it, it's a bit difficult to pick parts, so what's the point of this video then?
And the only thing you need to really be mindful of or realistic is when you choose your GPU or CPU. There's no point going with an FX 6300 and then a 980 Ti. Likewise, going for a too powerful CPU and a weak GPU for games is a waste too. I tend to find that in the budget range, looking at either the Pentium or a 6-core AMD one. If you're doing just games but want a very good system with little gaming or live streaming and easy to run games on the side, then look into the Intel i5. Its games don't really use more than 4 cores, though we've seen few games start to use 6, and if you're on board of performance for video editing and live streaming, then look into an i7. They tend to be out anything AMD offers at the moment, so it might change that though, and if you're still torn and you're like,
okay, I want to do YouTube and play games but I don't have any money to spend on an i7,
the i5 is still a good option. Personally, before September, all of my videos were made with an i5 Ivy Bridge processor, so that's like a few generations ago. Just know that if you are going for a lesser of a CPU, then it will be somewhat slower to render, etc. Now we're going to go into talking about resolution for monitors and TVs. This is basically how many pixels you have on your screen. Now most people have a 1920 by 1080p screen resolution, and just so you know that higher resolutions you want to play, the harder it is to run and your frame rate will suffer. That said, the opposite of gaming at 1440p and 4K resolutions is 720p. Not many of you will probably have this, but running games will be so much easier. Like seriously, running games at that point, you don't even have to spend much. I mean, at 720p and APU, or even a cheaper budget graphics card, like the GTX 750 Ti or R7 360 will do you great. If you're planning on playing AAA titles at 1080p and get 60 FPS, then look at cards like the GTX 950 or 960, or the R7 370 or R9 380. Now at 1440p or 4K, you're looking at cards like the R9 390, for entry 1440p or the 980 Ti, and then 4K is something like SLI 980s to get a good above 60 FPS. So at this point I'm trying to basically inform you that the higher resolution you play, the more money you should spend. Now if you're like the majority and you want to play games at 1080p, you don't need to spend anywhere more than £250 for a graphics card, as much as that does sound. And next, do you want to go with pre-built or custom? This is simply whether you want to go out and buy a PC that's already built for you from a shop, or you want to go out and buy the parts and build it for yourself. Now for me, unless you haven't got 3 hours to spare and you can afford paying that extra fee on top, go for pre-built. The parts tend to cheap out somewhere though, and you won't get anywhere near your money's worth at pre-built. My first PC was pre-built and my second was custom, so I've been on both sides of the fence, and I have to say that you can save a lot of money by going with custom, as well as directly choosing all your parts, and the experience is great too. Now before I go on to the next topic, I just quickly want to say that it's not really that tough putting a PC together. There are stacks of guides online which can help you find parts, like a lot of my build videos, and assembling it is easy, which I even made a guide on that. So if you're considering pre-built or custom, take a good look at custom, it's definitely worth it. Now in terms of place where you can get your components, this can vary. I don't live in the US, but I know places like Newegg and Tiger Direct often have good deals, and if you're in the UK like me, places like Area PC, Scan and Dabs are good choices. They all pretty much have a custom today deal section, and you can often save on each part like £10 to £20. And they also have bundles, and I suggest looking at these parts from different places if that saves you money. There's no point going with all just from Amazon or all just from one place if you can save, say, £50 by going with parts from different retailers. Also, does the budget include just the tower or peripherals? Now you shouldn't forget that buying the PC is one thing, but then you have to get an operating system, monitor, mouse and keyboard, mousepad, and either headsets or speakers, so just don't forget to factor that into the final cost. That said, you can get all of these pieces for pretty cheap, and a good place to loot will be some of my other full setup builds since they have good affordable parts. And lastly, we have the price to performance sweet spot. Now a quick rule of thumb is that the best performance for the dollar or pound is around £600 or the $700 price range. It's often kind of pricey, but I guess you get what you pay for. And that said, it's not like getting a £300 PC won't play games well. Trust me, in the end often you guys are set on a specific budget, and you have to ask yourself whether you're just gaming, editing, or you want to do more things like live streaming as well as what games you want to play and at what resolution. Sorry this video wasn't that well structured, I guess, some of my other ones, and that would probably sound like a broken record. But if you guys have any questions or comments, I'd love to answer them. So if you liked this video and found it helpful, do give it a like, and if you didn't, well, dislike it, and subscribe to see more of my content. This has been Yoda, later.